Okay, everyone. Yeah, this is about 7 minutes late. I trust there will be no ill will about this. Um, yeah, let me just make sure this is going up on YouTube. Always got to do that little check. So yeah, here we go. Today we're going to have a very special guest. A guest who I've been friends with forever. I can't believe that I have known Sam for 20 years now. It's wild. I'm kind of old, and we're kind of young when we started hanging. Of course, if you're tuning in, I mean, if you know what I've done at all, you know that I was in Z's from the basically from almost the very beginning, and Sam brought me into Z's when he had basically just formed it, and yeah, I met Sam through this guy Seth Misterka, who still does music but in a very different capacity, and he introduced me to Sam because Sam was booking this concert series at this tiny place called the Reed Bookstore, which was on Bedford Avenue and North 8th in Williamsburg, in a very just barely gentrified Williamsburg. And yeah, Sam booked me playing solo or playing duo with some people, and yeah, started doing Z's. I was in college. I would commute down from Connecticut to play with Z's, and then the rest is microscopic history, but history nonetheless. Yeah. By the way, I'm such a dick. I made you guys wait so I could make this. That's just this like almond latte. I have this. I have one of those old school espresso machines, the Pavoni, where you do the pull, like you pull it yourself, and it's really fire over here. So let's not even beat around the bush. Let's just get Sam. I mean, I like to fuck around a little bit because people trickle in. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, let's not do the trickle. Let's just let. Well, after I check one little tech thing. Good. No. We're here. All right. Let's bring in Sam Hillmer. What's up, man?
What's up?
How are things over there, man? How's things in New York?
I've been cleaning the crib all weekend, actually. My wife and daughter are out of town, and I just got into some like deep tunnel vision crib cleaning, and
Yeah.
it's been really sick, man.
Yeah.
Really. Yeah, it's like cleaning your brain with a toothbrush or something. It's amazing.
Yeah. Wasn't that my aunt, who is not Buddhist but very into Buddhism as a sort of mystic? She's a priest. She said, I asked her what's up with Buddhism, and she said clean your bowl. She said that's like number one. Is that a thing?
That's like I think a Zen
It's
thing.
a Zen thing.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like in the Zen tradition, it's like there's a quote that's like the Christian take on cleaning potatoes is to think about God while you're cleaning the potatoes, where in Zen it's just to clean the potatoes, you know? Like but definitely like cleaning, order, kind of like like Chogyam Trungpa talks a lot about like just order and like basic sanity. Like you can like have an experience of something basically good just by establishing some type of like relatable order in your environment. Yeah, you
Mm-hmm.
know
Yeah,
in
yeah.
general. Yeah,
Yeah. It's like Jordan Peterson style, basically.
yeah,
You've been reading. You got that copy of 12 Rules for Life, I said.
yeah. Dude, oh my god, I have the audiobook.
Yeah.
which is read by him. Respect.
Is the audiobook read
Yeah,
by
the audiobook
Peterson?
is read by Jordan Peterson. Yeah, I
Oh,
mean, poor guy.
I know, no, I know. I have sympathy for addiction, as you well know. But he just fell off, though. I mean, it's not funny, but it's just,
This dude like only eats meat.
is that the vibe? That's kind of
Yeah,
sick.
like his daughter is on some sort of trip about this only meat diet, and like
Hmm.
he's on it, so he like only eats meat, and I don't know, man. I don't know, man. I mean, he's kind of a tragic character, but I don't know, man. Some of that shit is true, man.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Clean up your crib, man. Get up early, fucking, get shit done. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. The funniest thing, we are not going on a fucking side thing about this, but just the IDW thing, in that label.
No, what to remind me?
IDW is intellectual dark web, and it was
Oh,
like
of course,
the
yeah, yeah,
Times ran. It's like Joe Rogan, Eric Weinstein, Jordan Peterson. Like that's intellectual and dark. Like it's like, how is that those things, man? It's just like,
yeah. I don't know. Yeah, the dude is just like, it's like if someone just had this like really, like if you just went to visit like your girlfriend's parents in like Danbury, Connecticut, and their dad was like unusually like lit or something. You know what I mean? Like I don't know it's like I don't know. It's like I don't really like. I mean, a lot of people hate on that guy. Like I don't care. But like yeah, to certain people, it was probably uplifting to encounter that book, man. So good for them. I don't, you know what I mean? Like I have no hate on the shit at all. Like I mean, I feel like that dude is kind of a sad character, but oh shit, I just lost your audio, Charlie. I'm not getting your audio.
how's that? You got me?
Hear you now.
You
Yeah,
can hear
I
me?
can hear you.
Is it same
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
quality as before? Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
everything's
sometimes
cool.
this
Yeah,
nice
yeah.
mic gets squirrely. Yeah.
Okay.
Word.
Wait,
All
what did I
right.
miss though?
Yes. Um, I don't fucking remember. Nothing. It's fine. Jordan
Okay,
Peterson.
word. Fuck Jordan Peterson.
Respect.
Yeah.
Respect. Yeah. So I don't know. I always start off. Anything we talk about. It's gonna launch. It's gonna launch hard into something. I don't know. Start with quarantine. I don't know if that's too
Yeah,
basic,
yeah,
but
yeah,
just so
yeah.
current. Like what have you been? I mean, yeah. What did quarantine like interrupt? Like where
Oh
was your
man.
main trajectory right when it
Yeah, yeah. Well,
hit?
okay. I mean, as you know, I run a venue in New York City. I also do a lot of events-based work, like through the venue and just on my own. Um, so I was like, I mean, the venue was going fucking hard, man. It was like we were doing like 80 to 90 events a month. Um, and then we were also doing music program and bar program for Satellite Art Fair. And we were doing a lot of like staffing and bar program and some amount of curatorial and promotional work for um, a lot of events that were happening in New York in non-traditional spaces. So like if a certain artist, like for example, we did something for Yeji, we did the Melting Point and Disc Cakes New Year's Eve parties. We did Juliana Huxtable's birthday party, so on and so forth. Um, Things want to happen in unconventional spaces, and so then they need sound and they need staff and they need security and they need a bar program and they need permits and blah blah blah. So we were doing a lot of that kind of work as well.
Word. Sorry, before you continue, just in case people don't know, because the intro I gave you is how we met. It wasn't really. I assumed everyone knows who you are, but Sam's talking about Hollow is the venue, right? Hollow is the venue that Sam runs in sort of on the border of Bushwick and Ridgewood, in New York. Wait, so keep going. Like so yeah, sponsoring these events elsewhere, non-traditional spaces. Hollow's a little more traditional.
Yeah, so there was the like ongoing program at the venue plus the events outside of the venue. And then on top of that, I mean, when all this stuff sparked off, I was actually on tour in Europe as Diamond Terrifier in like Eastern and Central Europe. I was in Milan on February 10th when like the first cases were kind of sparking up.
I didn't even know that, like, man. That sucks.
Yeah, it was wild. And they were like taking your temperature on the way in. It was creepy. I mean, I gotta say, I'm really, really glad that I took that trip when I took it because, I mean, I'm like a travel addict. I travel a lot, and I don't like to not travel. Like New York is not a place that I want to be all the time.
Yeah.
I'd say every 6 to 8 weeks I'm out of town, at least, often more than that. And I'm really, really glad man. I was at my favorite parts of the world, and I was in a lot of different zones, and I have a lot of friends over there and colleagues and stuff. It was great
Yeah.
to be over there. So yeah, like right when this thing sparked off, I was on tour as Diamond Terrifier. Trouble, the art project that I'm in, doing some traveling, scouting spaces for projects and installations in the Midwest in like Cleveland and Detroit and stuff. Not long before that.
Yeah. Yeah, so tons of
But I
stuff
mean,
other
my
than the
life was,
venue.
I mean, one of the things about, oh yeah, for sure. But one of the
Yeah.
things about quarantine was really just realizing how insane my life, man. I mean, it was like, I'd say for like 3 weeks after we just pulled the plug on everything, I was just sleeping. I was tired, and I was like, I really was just like, couldn't believe what I had actually been doing. You know what I
Well,
mean?
you go hard, man. We've talked about this, man. I mean,
And
yeah.
I mean,
Oh, by the way, Sam, you're breaking up quite a
yeah, no,
lot
yo,
now.
is my audio good?
Well, it's the audio and
Okay,
the
you know
video
what?
are both breaking up. You got to get right up on
Let's do
your
this. I'm gonna
router.
actually just I'm gonna relocate. So just maybe talk some shit for like
It's
seconds,
fine.
and I'm
I'm
gonna
gonna
give.
talk some shit about you, man. There's a couple of licks on the first fucking Z's record that we're gonna have to really discuss. But yeah, so okay, reintroduction to Sam. This will be like 1 minute. I mean, if anyone doesn't know, Sam is a composer, saxophonist, electronic musician, and yeah, so I mean, Z's has been going for years, but the project he's talking about, Diamond Terrifier, that's his solo thing, which maybe not as many people know, but it's starting to gain traction. I feel like he's been touring with Diamond Terrifier almost more than Z's used to tour, especially especially abroad. And yeah, and Hollow is a really cool venue. I really hope that when it returns, it's going to be like, on doing at least as much shit as it was before. Cool. You're a little more wired in there, Sam.
Yeah, I mean, I'm literally right next to the router, so I hope this is cool.
Good. That should help. Yeah. Cool, man. So right. So you were in Milan. You were kind of realizing just how you're kind of burning the candle at both ends, huh? I mean, that's.
Yeah, for sure. So like, yeah, I mean, the whole, I mean, especially like in the venue game, there was like a lot of like people that were kind of like really scrambling right at the get-go to figure out like a response. And I actually just didn't do that at all. I was like, man, this thing is going to last a really long time. Like we're not even going to have the full scope of what this thing even means in focus until, I don't know, summer or something. So I tried to like, stay in touch with my staff and my management team and my partners at the venue to try to just, make sure we were handling things as much as possible. But as far as like any type of public presence, that was like immediately over.
Yeah.
And once things were kind of tied up with like the pandemic plan, I really just got back to some like deeply personal, like just exercise, study, meditation, listening, really trying to focus on making the environment in my home for my family like sane and manageable. My daughter had to switch over to like online schooling, which required a lot of support, So I mean, for me, it became like deeply personal. I would say like late March through June, I was just really almost exclusively focused on like, trying to stay healthy and sane and have the experience that was there to have. Since June, I've been getting back into some practice with the venue. But yeah, man, I just got like deep into like books, music, things that I tried to check out a lot of things that I've wanted to check out but haven't really checked out. I tried to spend a lot of time listening to music by my friends and colleagues.
I remember that. I was doing the same. We were kind of talking about, catching up on each other's shit, actually.
Yeah, I think it's like, it's kind of a regrettable fact. I mean, maybe some people are better about this than others, but I think when you're just doing music full time all the time, and you're around who you're around, I think there's this feeling like, you're just going to see this person at a show, you're going to see their act at a show. Like, so I don't actually spend a lot of time consuming the music that my colleagues make. And I actually, when I tend to listen to music at home, I tend to listen like outside of my actual kind of lane or genre.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was cool, man. I really like did a deep dive on like just everybody that I've rolled with over the years, and like communicated with them about it and thanked them for the music and stuff. That was a really nice part of it, actually.
Yeah. It's hard to keep up, man, because like you said, when we were kind of like, like younger olden days, everyone's playing like every week almost. So yeah, you're going to see people, you're going to share a bill, you're going to hear their new record before it comes out. But yeah, I missed like an entire Mario Diaz de Leon record. I had to go back, and it's just like, what?
That's one of the dudes I checked out, actually.
Dude, so deep.
Yeah,
so deep. Yeah, he's
I like the newer like consonant work. It's really more consonant. Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah. It's hard to keep up with Toby Driver just as far as prolificness. Like I'm like, I should know every riff on that guy's records, as far as just, you know what I mean? Like how much I respect it, but I'm like fall behind because he just puts out another one like every year.
That's a guy whose work I actually really just don't know. I mean, I know who he is. I mean, Zs has played shows with his bands and stuff. I mean, I've seen the bands when we've played with them, but I actually his recorded output, I'm like completely unfamiliar with.
It's funny. I think some people would be surprised that you don't, you know what I mean? Because Z's, Extra Life, KO Dot. I mean, it's such an overlap, of fan bases. I mean, Toby's stuff. I mean, KO Dot's the most famous thing. His solo record, his like both of his solo records of like more singer-songwriter stuff, that would actually be a place to start. He's super deep.
All right.
But in any case, yeah. So yeah, going inward, right? I mean, I've been doing the same. I mean, just sort of retreating and trying to, have the experience that's there to have. I love that. That's you can't fight what the situation is. I'm happy as hell as long as when I don't think about when I don't mourn what's gone, when I just deal with what is here, I'm actually doing pretty well with all this, Yeah,
I mean, I feel like everything that's happening, like I mean, except for like the actual virus itself, but like the kind of impact that it's having on social and economic and cultural space and whatnot, are all things that were already happening, but just like sped up, which is interesting because the actual experience is that of slowing down, but I think the actual effect has been to like expedite a lot of processes that were kind of already in motion.
That's something I'm like, my instinct is like totally. But wait, explain more though, because I think I know what you mean, but like what processes, like kind of like just what processes are you thinking?
Well, I mean, it's like this isn't gonna like cheer anybody up, unfortunately, but like I mean, the kind of like atomization of social space by dint of the internet, the kind of like erosion of an experience of community. The like broadening of the wealth gap, like all of these things are things that were kind of like inching forward like incrementally. I mean, certainly moving at a much faster pace than they were like a half century ago, but like I think in our experience, it was kind of like watching the lawn grow. Yeah. And then introduce this thing, and then all of a sudden those things happen at a much faster rate. You like for example, like the increased reliance on like streaming culture or something like this is probably something that we'd have arrived at eventually anyway. But now there's been this case to be made for it because it's like been the only way for people to stay connected at all.
Yeah.
And so you see this like radical spike in the rate at which that type of media is produced and consumed. And at the same time, it becomes like incredibly diffuse, like because now everybody's doing it. So there's like more actors in the cultural sphere producing this type of content. So then the audience is divided across all of these folks, like but I think that this is this is something that we were headed for anyway.
I know.
But then it becomes like incredibly accelerated.
Yeah. Atomization. I mean, that word is yeah. I mean, people theorists, people say, you know, that's sort of the word they use, like sort of one of the hallmarks of capital acceleration. You know, is just the atomization of the social, you know. I mean, but it used to be kind of like, yeah, well, you don't talk to your neighbors as much. There's, you know, community is not as much of a thing, individualism. But then it's like, now it's like you cannot leave the house, you know. You can't literally be around people on a certain level. I don't know. For me, though, weirdly, it's like I had kind of already primed myself for this, because I moved out to LA, where, you know, before pandemic, I moved out here where I don't know anyone except for Kirsten and like a couple of people, and I started doing this YouTube thing. So it's like I was already kind of like walled up in this like bunker, you know, ready for any kind of, just ready to not be out in the world. Like I've been almost quarantined here even before quarantine, you know, because I moved here like a year and a half ago, and I've just been kind of like looking for work online and working from home and like not knowing a ton of cats, you know. So
word. Well, yeah, the stream game has been sick, man.
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah. I'm almost more psyched about this than writing music, to be honest. Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
it's just hard because I keep saying it's like the world, because it's so uncertain what's even going on out there. Like, I just don't even know what that is. That it's like, to getting psyched to write music, it's like less exciting because I don't even know what I'm responding to. I don't know, somehow responding to it by just running my mouth online is somehow seems like more of a direct, like, I don't know. I'm not getting a lot of poetry.
Yeah,
like,
I know what you mean.
This isn't like poetic and interesting for me out there. Like, yeah, man, these troubled times. I'm just like, I don't want to even. It's like,
dude, it's time for your Threnody. R.I.P. Indoretsky, BTW.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, man. Well, like, yeah. So I mean, like the whole. I mean, do you think? I mean, when this ends, I mean, are you gonna just hop back into Hollow the same way it was? I mean, the same way you were rolling before, or are you kind of, or maybe you don't even know what's gonna happen?
I mean, yeah, it's an unknown, of course. I'm being seduced by the idea to quote to the Donald Rumsfeld quote. There are known knowns and unknowns. Yeah. I mean, it's just like a weird fucking thing to say. Anyways, but yeah, I mean, in a sense, it's like an unknown. I got back into the game with operating one of these sidewalk locations that we're able to run in New York City right now, where the state liquor authority and the governance in New York has allowed for everybody that holds a liquor license to have a location on the sidewalk and in the street. And we developed a model whereby we're producing live streams in the basement, and then the people who are involved with the lineup for the live stream can promote for people to come out to the sidewalk bar, and it's essentially like a seated listening and viewing party of the live stream on the sidewalk. So it's kind of like almost a show. And in many ways, that's been really great. There's been a lot of appreciation coming from the people who've been a part of it, to just have something to do, have somewhere to go, do something, you know, to get like a media asset out of it. And it's been a good experience with artists and presenters and audience members, and we're also one of the only people in the game in New York doing it, which really surprised me. Actually, I kind of thought everybody was going to jump at this opportunity.
Yeah, it seems like a great and logical idea. That may be just location too, you know, like that location maybe still be Wild West enough that you could do that or something. You know,
yeah, like I mean, maybe. I don't know, but the experience has been positive and uplifting as far as like artists and artist communities are concerned. Dealing with the city and the state has been a total nightmare. It's like, I mean, they kind of allowed everybody to do this thing and then immediately became like super draconian about cracking down on everybody who was doing it if they weren't doing it exactly right, because there's all of these, you know, precautions that you're supposed to take vis-a-vis COVID, which of course we're trying to take. I mean, there's a lot of there's a lot of pressure coming from the communities, the artist communities themselves to be safe and to, take all into account, which of course we're trying to do. But man, I mean, the state liquor authority is running around taking people's liquor licenses for just the way I feel about it is that if you get inspected, you're getting shut down. There's no way, because you're like, they have all these crazy rules, like you're supposed to police within 100 feet of your venue in any direction. It's like, I mean, it's absurd. You know what I mean?
That's a pretty big radius. Yeah.
Yeah. It's totally crazy. So like, having had this experience participating in this initiative toward reopening, they are starting indoor dining again at 25%. Theoretically, I could participate in that, but to be honest, like, until we're out of the woods, I don't actually want to get back in the game until it's just like the coast is clear.
Right. Like a year from now. I mean, you're very good at interfacing with systems and institutions. I mean, negotiating some of the stuff that other people might not want to get their hands dirty with, or might not have the capabilities to do that. So I'm sure you're keeping it as, I'm sure you keep, if anyone can keep this going, you could do, it would be you.
We're like doing the thing, we're following all the rules, and we're really trying to keep it safe and everything. But like, these state, especially the state agencies, like the state liquor authority, I mean, if they're coming to your spot, they're coming to shut you down. They're not like, once you're on their radar, they're there to shut you down. They're not like trying to find out if you're following the rules. They're going to find some reason, like, oh, this, so, and it's like, at the end of the day, you're doing this thing on the sidewalk, you're working with the public, the event is free. Like, how much control do you really have over these people?
Yeah, for sure.
So, I mean, I don't think we're going to get hit by these folks, and we're going to do a couple more weekends and just tie it up and say, like, thank you for your time. But like, I mean, the thing is, like some colleagues of ours down the street at House of Yes, this other venue, kind of very different scene, they got hit. They were basically doing everything right. They got hit on this like technicality, and the state liquor authority shut them down, suspended their liquor license, and fined them $20,000.
Jesus. Well,
and it wasn't even like some, like, they were being unsafe. It was basically like a clerical issue.
They had too many clerics there and stuff. Not enough paladins and fighters. You need to have every player class represented. I can't believe House of Yes. I'm surprised. I mean, isn't there stuff, just these like mass orgies and stuff? I mean, how do you do that with social distance?
Well, I mean, they had like a big outdoor area, and they had like 125 tables. I mean, they were like definitely going big, and like really trying to do it. But my understanding, I mean, I know those folks, and they run a very tight ship. It's like they might be into some far out stuff. They're kind of coming from like the burner lane. And they, but like, they're very, very savvy. They're like not cutting corners,
Word.
They got shut down because like the soup that was being served was coming from their sister business that was next door to them, but it's like not the same business. And like technically for a person who holds a liquor license to allow another business to operate inside of their premise is illegal.
Oh,
so
Christ, yeah.
Like, dude, this is fucking boring. But
like,
no.
In any case, yeah. I mean, it's fucking up many different places more than Hollow, at least. I mean,
definitely. But like, the point is, I'm gonna get out of the game until the coast is clear. Like, I'm not like out of the game in the sense of like not at Hollow, but I'm not going to try to operate until there's a vaccine and it's fine and we can go back and do what we do.
Yeah, totally. I'm kind of like, I mean, I'm interested in just the different, we always talk about community. That's like a big thing. We're always like talking about just the word community. And I know Hollow kind of has its hands in a bunch of different communities. I kind of just wonder if that's changing, like who's playing the sidewalk things. I mean, have like different scenes been hit more than others, or like, and I mean, what do they even tell people what the different scenes are that are connected with Hollow? Because I mean, I've seen some metal shows there. I mean, I've seen some free jazz, but I know there's all kinds of stuff there that I don't even know about, really.
Yeah. So I want to make this interesting for your viewers. So I don't want to get like mired in the the like administrative details of like running a venue and stuff. So like, yeah, I mean, community is like definitely like a jumping off point. I mean, maybe an interesting way to talk about it is to talk about like kind of the manner in which we consider and like operate with communities and how that relates to our mission. So like I mean, one thing to say would be that like something that's happened. I mean, I guess I don't even know who watches this really. It's like I don't know if you have like an LA fan base or a New York fan
Mostly,
base.
I mean, mostly music people here. I'm gonna draw the blind here. Yeah, I mean, mostly like who you would expect, experimental music folks, a couple philosophy type people, from like theory stuff that we're both into, some of that.
All right, word. So yeah, okay, let's dive in a little bit. So something that's happened over the course of the last 10, 15, 20 years, depending on how you count, in New York City is that there's been an emphasis on niche venues. Like when I first got to the city, and I mean, you grew up in the city, so you'll remember what I'm talking about. Venues were kind of like ecumenical. They were sort of like, you might go see a rap artist that you like at the Knitting Factory, and then you might go see a metal band that you like at the Knitting Factory, and then
especially Knitting Factory, yeah. Especially Knitting Factory and the Cooler.
Yeah, the Cooler, but also like brownies and like just like places that you would play. Like places didn't tend to be super invested in like a particular musical style as it related to like a lifestyle or something.
Yeah.
And something that you see a lot, like really in the last 10 years in New York, are a lot of venues that are really kind of trying to come with this like whole packaged experience of like, you go here to be around these people and see this kind of music and be in this kind of environment. And like, that's what we're about. You know what I mean? So you'll have like, a venue like St. Vitus or a venue like SOBs, or I mean, SOBs is an OG venue, but like a venue like Vitus or a venue like Bossa Nova or a venue like Mood Ring or like whatever. They have a specific musical and aesthetic focus and alignment that also aligns with a specific group of people. And then also I would say a specific kind of social and lifestyle experience.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
And I personally am a critic of that. Like, I don't think that that's doing anybody or art or any, even those scenes, I don't think it's like doing that like a big favor.
Yeah.
I think that the experience as a New Yorker wherein you might just encounter whatever, when you go out, like you go to catch a show and the thing that's wrapping up from before, like what you were going to see is something that's like completely alien to you. I think that that's like a positive. I think that's a value add and a good experience. So Hollow was opened in the beginning as a kind of anti-niche, and in a sense, like more recently, it's kind of like anti-curatorial. It's like that word has just become so overused, like
yeah, man, I found it kind of gross for a while, to be honest. But I mean,
it's like everything is fucking curated. It's like the tea selection curated by like like and like just the whole like notion of curation, like to me is based, it's like based on a situation that you find yourself in where you feel that you need some type of guidance, basically, right? Like the role of the curator, in a sense, is to connect random people to an experience culturally in a way that they can find relatable, to therefore open them to something that maybe they otherwise would not have been open to. Do you know what I mean? I mean, I'm sure there's 10 billion people that would disagree with me. But I think that there is, like, if you look at like museum curation and like narratives that like arise around art shows and stuff, there's a clear effort to present something that maybe would just feel like, what the fuck is this? In a way that you're like, oh, okay, it was like happening at this time. Like this person is from this place, like this aspect of
it's part of discourse. I mean, whatever that means, but it's part of generating discourse.
Right. But when you arrive at what the fuck is that? When you arrive at a situation wherein like, oh, I see, it's my thumb. Okay. Wherein every experience that you consume is something that's like prepared especially for you. Do you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, it's no longer curated. It's like the curation is done off the bat, and then you're just riding. It's like one show. I mean, the whole thing is like one.
Right. It's like I feel like the logic of the internet and the logic of consumption and capitalism, and like I'm not like an anti-capitalist. That's not where I'm coming from.
You're not.
But,
you would not describe yourself as like, you wouldn't use the label anti-capitalist exactly.
No.
Tight. All right, here we go.
No. I mean, yeah. Well, let's dog ear that.
But yeah. No. I mean, or not. We'll see if we want to. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not like anti-Marxist or I'm not like not into socialism or something. But like, would I use the construction anti-capitalist? No. Wait a minute. Let me regain my thread here. Oh yeah, the logic of the internet, the logic of your social media platforms and your feed and the TL and like the AirPods and consumption and capitalism is to spiral toward this experience of greater and greater homogeneity. Do you know what I mean? Which is interesting and troubling because I feel like that's the exact thing that the internet promised to free you from. You know. With the idea that like everything is available, right? But in practice, what happens is like a logic that's based on affinity. You know?
You're now like totally like you're not breaking up, but the sound is like really janky all of a sudden, or gradually, yeah.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Perfect now, yeah, perfect now,
okay.
Yeah.
So I was saying like the logic becomes one that spirals towards greater and greater homogeneity, and then I feel like there's been a response on the part of cultural facilities, basically, to kind of honor that expectation, you know,
within their right. So it's like in general things are heterogeneous, but within a venue's concept, it's very homogeneous within the venue.
Well, right, because I feel like it's like my experience of the social space in New York City from like 96 to 06 or 07 was that, you know, people weren't trying to make it so that you didn't see something you didn't want to see. You know what I mean? Like they were doing what they were doing. You were there to do what you were there to do. And they weren't particularly concerned about like giving you this like experience. It's like packaged with a bow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if you had to rub some shoulders with some people that like, you know, you don't really relate to, fucking so be it. Like, who cares?
Is there anything though that you like don't do at Hollow, or like not even like you deliberately would exclude it, but like what doesn't come through Hollow, you know? Because I mean, I know there's a big variety of stuff, but I mean, I don't know. Like you don't have like straight ahead jazz ever, right? Or
no, sometimes.
Do you actually?
I mean, the main thing that really just doesn't come through Hollow is shit that's like really angling and actually getting like legit big. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's not aspirational. It's stuff that still has a sense of underground, you know, whatever that means in 2020. Right?
Yeah, but and it's like and actually we do get hit up about those things, and you can always tell it's like so and so was like did this and they did this show and they won this fucking prize on some stupid MTV reality show, and now they're blah, and there's going to be like A&R people in the building, and there's a lot of this like flexing and carrying on and shit. And like, I'm just kind of like, man, you're not gonna be, you know, you're not gonna get my stuff, man. You know, like that stuff when people are actually trying to do the sort of like what like Mercury Lounge does, where it's kind of like every night it's kind of like a showcase.
Well, that's Clear Channel now. I mean, they're run by Clear Channel. Like that's I think, or yeah. I think it's
for sure.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that type of stuff, we don't do that stuff. I mean, I'm not going to say it's never happened, but like, we don't do that stuff. But like, yeah. So I'm kind of like wondering, but like back to this idea of things being like anti-curatorial. Like, I think that like in order to like have an idea, we have to get back in touch with some type of reasonable idea about raw social space. Do you understand what I'm saying? Just like
I think so. What's raw social like?
raw social space is when you're on like the A train at like 23rd Street or something. Do you know what I mean?
It, man. I miss it, dude.
It's like everybody got on in Harlem, and then everybody got on in Midtown, and now you're in Chelsea, and you're going to Bed-Stuy, and the people on the train are just this like composite of like all these different types of folks, you know, like who just have nothing, like maybe they're all in their own social depth, you know, and they don't have like necessarily anything in common besides just like being New Yorkers, but maybe they do have things in common, like we don't generally get to find out, you know? But like raw social space is just like the composite of what's happening, you know? Like, and like, of course,
and assemblage or a
an assemblage, and like to try to get I mean, this is impossible, you know, but it's not impossible to gesture towards this, right? Like to try to get like a sense of the composite, the whole, like what's going on, like who's doing what, like what's the totality of what is happening? Like how could you try to characterize that, or think about that, or just even ask yourself that question? And I think that like a few things about that, like one, you have to be open to a lot of shit, you know, and you have to be open to doing things that don't reinforce your own process of social identification. Which I think is like a really meaningful and interesting exercise. And I think that I also think that there's like an important, this is getting into some like weird territory, but I think that there's like an important utility for shit that's like seen. I gotta be very careful about how I say this. Seen from a kind of like standard independent music community machine point of view. See, like shit that seen from that point of view would be like whack.
Wait, I guess you can't name names, right? I mean, like...
Yeah, I'm not going to name names.
Like whack as in low quality, or whack as in like socially problematic or something like that? Like,
no. That's not what I'm talking about. Yeah. I mean, I have a whole thing about that, but like, no. I mean, like whack, like just not really engaging the themes and debates of the milieu. You know what I mean? Like, there's like, if you look at like the composite of like the dominant kind of like blog platforms and labels and agencies and like what the festivals are booking, there tends to be like kind of an art, like a conversation articulated by that, do you know, that like concerns itself with specific things. I would say, for example, one thing right now that a lot of like the bigger American and European festivals are concerned with is what I would describe as like post-club music. So you have music that's kind of electronic music that's coming out of like a DJ or producer like dance club setting, but that somehow aligns with like performance or visual art practice, or
like what Chino Amobi, Lee Gamble, this kind of thing, or Low
so on and so forth. Right. This is a kind of like a big preoccupation, and this tends to be aligned with certain communities, of course, certain labels and like internet radio stations, and then there can be like sort of like fashion alignments and like lifestyle like this, and then like an artist can land in the context of that conversation in a way that is like resonant with that conversation. Do you understand what I mean? Mm-hmm. So
I do.
I think that there's like a utility. I mean, this is like I am alone in this belief. Okay, so you know, like I'm like out on a fucking limb here, but like I think that there's a utility for shit that's just fucking whack, man. That's just like that's just like what like this is nothing. Like what are you doing?
This is interesting, man, cool, because I've been saying the opposite on here so much. I've been like, you know, we need to get back to standards, and there needs to be more hierarchical orientation of artistic practice and all this and that, and calling bullshit on stuff. But
by whack, I don't mean like lacking in quality. Do you know what I mean? Like somebody could be like killing it, but just like oblivious.
you want more oblivious cats? Just
yeah, because
that's kind of sick. Like, well, that would be like straight ahead jazz, right? Well, what would I mean? I mean, it's like really killing straight ahead jazz, which seems pretty. I mean, I hope I
Right,
don't want
right.
to
That would be
offend.
an
I don't
example.
want to offend anyone who's like a straight ahead jazzer watching this, but like you're oblivious if that's. I mean, really, kind of in a way.
Right, but that's like
I
an
mean,
example, and that's kind of interesting. Like that's kind of like just having you could have like because like the thing is right, like it's like shit that is like whack, like seen from that point of view. Like I'm not saying I myself think any of this shit is whack, but like I mean I only like 5 things, so like
yeah, no, yeah,
like so like, but it's like I mean let me just say let me cut to the chase here. Like basically the way I feel about it and what I feel that I see when I look out at musical cultural space from the point of view of doing the kind of volume of communication that I do with cultural actors in the scene is that the system that has resulted as a function of the rise of punk DIY indie over the course of the last 30 years, 40 years, is a system that is too easily gamed, and especially now that it's almost entirely mediated by the internet, and one that like specifically rewards people with means and people who are talented administrators. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
And
yeah,
like,
yeah.
and also like, and also if you are operating in the context of that system, there's a lot of pressure to sort of like toe the line. Do you know what I mean?
Well,
Like,
you mean DIY culture that was traditionally punk, just over the past maybe like 10 or 20 years becoming more just like the minor leagues for the major leagues, kind of. I mean, is that sort of like?
kind of, yeah. Like, I mean, like the way the system basically works, right, is that there's like artists, and artists are doing stuff, right, and so then they're trying to kind of swim into communities where there's people with some amount of influence. So that could be an agent, a manager, a label, a press opportunity. Once you swim into one of those lanes, then those things all tend to align. So if you get an agent, maybe you get a label and therefore press opportunities and then booking and so forth, right? If you just get a really sick press opportunity, maybe you get approached by an agent, right?
Yeah.
So those things kind of tend to align. And then once those things are aligned behind an artist, then everybody who's a part of that system is expected to just toe that line.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I personally think that's not legit. Do you know what I mean? Because it like basically amounts to a system of smoke and mirrors, right? Where like people identify somebody and they're like, okay, this person's going to be somebody. So then they get them on a label. Ordinarily, they have that person stop playing shows. They get really crispy photographs.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
have a bunch of remixes with people who already have a lot of shine.
Right, right. Like they get one showcase thing with 1 million people in the audience, and then they get footage of that, and then that makes it look like this person has 1 million fans, right? I mean,
Right.
that kind of thing. And yeah, yeah.
So then the whole question just becomes, well, who has access to that one opportunity?
Yeah, yeah.
Do you see what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
And like, I'm just personally, I have no interest in that. I'm not, I don't want to, I mean, to be honest, like to be even more honest, like I think that is it's a fixed fight. And like, I don't like, that's one thing that I hate, like when somebody's got their thumb on the scale, you know?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
But even to be even more real about it, I just don't like those people. Like the
bureaucrats, essentially. I mean, it's essentially just bureaucrats. It's like
right, like the people who are doing that, they're kind of involved in these like schematas of like, oh well, we're gonna have this, and then you're gonna collaborate with so and so, and then this festival is like focusing on collaborations. So then we're gonna pitch this there, then you're gonna do that. We're gonna take photos of that. We're gonna give that to your agent. Then we're gonna pitch you a tour in Asia because they don't fucking know what's going on. So like, do you know what I mean? It's all very like, just like it's all just like grifting. I mean, I'm not really mad at grifting and shit, but like it's like grifting on the behalf of people who shouldn't need to grift.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, that's what I was thinking with like, you know, that whole post-club kind of really very experimental music, like we're talking about with like Low Tech, I don't know, Holly Herndon, these kind of artists. It's like that whole scene I'm so impressed and like fascinated with on a musical level, and it's in that club thing that it's coming out of is so not what I ever was a part of, you know? And you and me have roots in like so many scenes of like jazz, punk, metal, classical, but like club, techno, no, you know, like I don't even know the OG stuff of that. So, I mean, maybe I romanticize it from a distance, but it seems like that culture would have more of a realness as far as actual audiences liking or not liking something and people getting up. I mean, it seems like DJs and stuff would be more able than anyone else to get up based on real grassroots people liking their stuff, because you get up, no one knows who you are, then the people are into it and dancing. If they're not dancing, then you get right. I mean, isn't that sort of, it seems like they need hype less, you know?
My objection to this has nothing to do with the content, and I want to say specifically that the PostClub community, I mean, roughly speaking, I mean, a lot, you know, you could say a lot about that, you know, vis-a-vis like Lotic and like Chino Amobi, like somebody might say like those are two totally different things, or, you know, but like, let's just, for the sake of this conversation, we'll refer to it as PostClub. I actually specifically applaud all of those people for their success. I'm happy for them, and to whatever extent I've had leverage in New York City, I've really pushed that content, and I've actually specifically like really been a critic of like the noise scene and of the like. I don't know if I'd say I'm like a critic of the free jazz scene, but I'm like constructively engaged with them about how like really Chino Amobi should be playing Vision Fest. It's like y'all are sleeping on something that's like important.
Yeah.
And like I'm a critic of the contemporary classical music scene for not embracing that music. You know, I can't really speak to their intentions because I'm not them, but like,
well, a lot of those cats I don't even think know about, like Chino.
Yeah,
and
I
mean, I don't even.
I think the task for not knowing about it. I mean, you know, it's not that fucking hard to find out about it. You know, but so I mean, I actually like I've been a big proponent of that scene. I like a lot of that music, and I like a lot of those people, and I'm all for those folks having success. What I'm an opponent of. Or it's not even that I'm an opponent of it, because like reality has to be fine. Like I'm not like mad at reality, but like what I don't want to participate in is a situation that I view as a fixed fight. Do you know what I mean? Like when, like, let's say you get signed to, you know, horrible records, right? And then you just you get this, you get an agent, you get a publicist, and then you know you have this lead on people that are just like one meeting away from you that's like almost insurmountable. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's like, there may be nothing to be done about that, but it's just like, my problem with it is that I find it uninteresting. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what I find interesting is New York City and just like the street. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not,
yeah.
Like, I'd rather just like, and something that we do at Hollow that I'm like proud of and that I think is cool is that like people walk in there and they're like, hey, I've been here, I do this thing, we need a space, and it's like, cool, let's try it. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, totally. Oh, you're not, your mic is now weird again. It's very quiet. It's like or pinched sounding.
Is it better now?
No, it still sounds like it's like in a tin can or something.
I cannot imagine why that would be. Is it like discernible?
I mean, borderline. Are you sure? Did it change what mic it's coming out of? It did that for a second before, and then you did something, and it.
I didn't do anything, but I mean, how's it sound now?
Kind of the same, but I'm not sure.
Now?
No, same thing.
I mean, it might just be a product of me being on the phone.
Yeah, I guess we could keep going. Yeah, let's just keep going with it.
I mean, is it like, I mean, you can hear it, I can't. Is it like, can you understand it?
I can understand what you're saying. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it'll probably just autocorrect at some point. Yeah, I don't know. It's like, I mean, Hollow is meant to be something that's like just accessible. But so like back to this idea of being whack, it's like you have to be like down to be whack. You follow what I'm saying? Like,
well, yeah.
That's the thing. It's like there's a lot of this, like, if you're trying to like roll with those agents and labels and blogs, you gotta, it becomes this like cool kids club. So you kind of have to either just be like, okay, yes, I'm telling the party line, or be like, actually, I'm whack. Turns out I'm whack.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I always think about the phrase "dialed in." I don't know. We've used that. Oh, by the way, it could be that your hand is blocking the mic or something on your phone or something. Like the way you're holding it or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think so.
No,
but
no. Now I hear you perfectly. Now I hear you perfectly.
Oh, weird.
Yeah. That's what
Oh, word.
Yeah.
I don't know what these fucking things are.
Yeah, get you. Anyway, but yeah, like the phrase "dialed in," it's like I don't know. Sometimes I think of "dialed in" as a beautiful thing, like oh, you're just nailing it. Someone's nailing it in every regard. The music, the image, how it fits into a scene. And then other times I'm like, I don't want to make music that's dialed in, man. You know what I mean? Because sometimes sometimes I look like sometimes I kind of in this way that's like both self-deprecating and also self-congratulatory, but at the very least self-reflective and aware. I'll look at my entire body of work and I'm like, none of that was dialed in. I mean, in the sense of dialed in, like none of it was just like, ooh, like that's exactly what was needed, that landed at the right moment. There's always some rough edge of like not what anyone asked for type energy. You know what I mean?
Vulnerability.
Yeah. This sort of like fragile vibe of like, like, oh, it's like that. Like, all right, but then I don't know, some people just naturally just make some dialed in stuff. I think, I don't know, just, you've just like really part of a culture very directly.
I mean, in practice, what I have found the construction, because I used to use that all the time, and I used to think it was sick. But in practice, what I find that means is not disruptive of people's expectations.
Yeah.
Like, when shit is dialed in, it's like the people who are coming to this thing expect a certain thing, and they're going to get it. And it's like, yeah, I mean, that's the thing. And it does steer me into a real quagmire running a venue at all, because like, I'm really not interested in gratifying those expectations. Like what I'm interested in doing is providing a platform to people who need one. Do you know what I mean? But like, I mean, I end up in these kinds of situations all the time where I have like analog synth bleep bloop early concert, and then they're running like a little bit late, and then I have like Jamaican dance hall from Crown Heights like at 11 sharp.
Yeah.
And it's like there's this moment that nobody can make sense out of socially. I mean, the Jamaicans don't give a fuck. They're like, whoa, this is crazy. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
But like the bleep bloop people are like packing up their
Well, they're just scared. I mean, they're just like, these guys are gonna steal my shit.
They're like, terrified. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
but the thing is that I'm interested. I think that's good. Like, see, and that's why I maybe shouldn't be the one doing this, because it's like, I don't think that it should be anybody's responsibility to protect you from people that just live in New York. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes. No, I know. Well, this is what's weird. I mean, it's like, because we used to do, like we used to put on shows. I mean, it was more you than me, but when we used to curate, at the Cake Shop way back in the 2000s, we did From B to Z. That was, I doubt anyone watching this remembers that, but that was way back in the day. We were always trying to like make like unusual connections between who we booked, like genre wise, like, oh, like this free jazz thing and this death metal act, like they do work together like you wouldn't expect. So, we kind of had that thing of like people would wanna, part of the appeal I think of our night was that you would play on a bill that you wouldn't normally play on, and then that was rich or something. But I think it was only later that you started to do stuff that actually crossed not just genre lines, but like class and like demographic kind of lines. Like, you know what I mean? Like when you started to like, be like booking, and not just booking, but you like collaborating with like kids from those neighborhoods, and just kind of crossing the like gentrification, like social depth gap. And just be like, you literally live on my block and we don't talk. Like, how about like we collaborate on a project? Like, it's like the most normal idea in the world, but like just slightly taking the edge off of atomization. I mean, it's weird that that's like still a thing. I mean, that's like still like novel that people would be collaborating. I mean, just that the analog synth, I'm sort of assuming that when we say the analog synth guys, we're talking about like middle class educated people. I mean, it doesn't have to be, but for the most part, it's like the fact that that's separate, the fact that that's that disparate socially from the Jamaican dancehall world, it's kind of socially like pathological. I mean, in a way. Like,
well, yeah, especially because Jamaicans literally like invented
invented that music. I mean, it's just like, yeah. So
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of been on this trip like my whole career, man. You know, like Wet Ink, Zs. It was all about kind of bringing things together that, seen from a certain point of view, belong together, but that in practice were sequestered. You know, it's like really the whole bag. You know, but like yeah. So I don't know what we were talking about exactly, but I mean, oh well, yeah. I mean, I guess about that like being whack thing and like curating, like anti-curatorial, like it's not just like, I mean, it's not just me trying to fuck with people. Do you know what I mean? Like,
No,
I really do feel that like we've reached this point in culture where it's like if something is not set up for you to be able to consume it, it's regarded as like an affront or something. And like that's such a, in my estimation, that's such a perverse way to think about just being like a person in the world, like especially when you've gone out of your way a lot of times. I mean, not that there aren't people from New York City, of course there are, you're one of them, but like many people here and many people in the arts have gone out of their way to come to a place where there's this like extreme heterogeneity of social actors, to then also somehow bring this expectation to bear on cultural experience that you're not going to be confronted by something that you didn't expect is just like, bizarre and ridiculous. And also like resonates a lot with, I think, what you see generally in like the social political conversation, wherein people like really have lost the ability to understand how somebody could like not agree with them.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, you know, when you're talking about this idea of the compositor just being on the A train, this is like, I think this is related. It's going in a little different direction. I mean, we don't have to get like really into like politics or culture war type shit exactly, but I was thinking about the whole thing of just like the sort of on the level of social attitudes and like politics and the sort of, you know, the polarity of this sort of like left right, you know, like hard line separation with the bubbles. I mean, I was thinking that, you know, it's like what's needed with that isn't people coming to a happy medium or something, but I was thinking that like everyone is responding to the same world. I mean, there is a world situation that is what's going on. Like there is an objective thing, and like everyone is responding to this same world. I mean, a straight up Nazi black metal Ukrainian guy versus some free jazz girl who's like trying to cancel you or something because of some tweet. I mean, everything, like everyone's responding to the same world situation. So it's like, I mean, it doesn't mean everyone has to be on the same bill, but it is like we're at least all together in the sense that we are like responding to the same stuff. So, I mean, you're not talking about politics exactly. I mean, you're talking about sort of social scenes, but it's like,
yeah,
I mean, there should be, yeah, you know,
I know what you're saying, and yeah, that has a lot to do with my thinking. I mean, something that I've been thinking about lately. You know, I'm like a big fan of the abstract expressionist, which is like something that you're not supposed to like, but like
that's the least hip thing. That's like the most. It's not even canceled. It's just like anyway, yeah.
But I predict that that's gonna come back. Like that, like just like being into like Jack Kerouac and shit.
I mean, you want to talk about like macho white dudes just like swinging dicks. I mean, that's that for real. But
yeah,
something to that, like, man. I fuck with Norman Mailer. You know, it's a vibe.
Yeah, I you know, whatever, man. Guilty as charged. It's my glass jar. I like the abstract expressionist, but like, I mean, like and within the abstract expressionist, the person that you're like really, it's like so fucking hackneyed to talk about this shit is like Jackson Pollock. But like Jackson Pollock, like to me, like the fundamental insight and like brilliance of that work, like even if you personally like dislike it, like the thing that explains its success is like the insight about his painting is that the canvas is the canvas and the paint is the paint. It just is the thing that it is. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like I think about that in relationship to booking the space, because it's like I'm not trying to participate in some like global hegemonic fucking, you know, megaphone articulating what manifests in, you know, indie or subculture or something. I don't really actually think about that at all. I really just care about New York. And I mean, I don't not care about people in other parts of the world. Like in the abstract, I hope they're all fine, of course, you know, but like as far as like what I'm doing with the venue, it's like I am trying to get to this thing where it's like the street is the street and the people on the street are the people on the street. They can come into the venue and book a gig, and then everything that happens in a month is what the venue's doing, and the venue is what the venue's doing, and that's what it is.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like it's like not more complicated than that, and that kind of ties back to the thing about like clean your bowl.
Yeah. Or have the experience that's there to be had. I mean, it's, also no need to do a complete pure continental philosophy tangent, but it's got a Deleuze energy of assemblages, heterogeneous elements that are sort of consolidated and not differences that are consolidated without being absorbed into sameness. But are especially you're like in the middle, that whole Deleuze thing of starting in the middle. The street is there. If you've got rich kids moving into town with $1 billion analog synths, and you've got like some poor kid from the neighborhood trying to make beats on Ableton or something, they're both there. You're in the venue is in the middle of that, and you sort of radiate out from that rather than grasping for elsewhere.
One of the things about like Deleuze and like things that are like the dialogue that surrounds Deleuze is that I feel like people are always trying to bring like a Deleuzean lens to things. And I always felt about Deleuze that like Deleuze isn't trying to say like, here's a way that you could look at this. He was trying to say like, here's a way that things already are.
True.
Do you understand what I'm saying? So it's like, it's not like, it like to embrace Deleuze in a practice, in like a social practice, you don't need to like do something Deleuzean. He's saying that things just are this way. Things are rhizomatic. And actually, when you lower the threshold, the barrier to entry to a cultural space, things become more Deleuzean.
This is interesting. Okay. Yeah, because this is I'm so with it, and it does admittedly it kind of goes against some of the tropes that I've been using the way I talk about stuff with hierarchy and exclusion and whatnot. I'll tell you one thing that Deleuze does say is he as much as he is diagnostic and trying to talk about what's objectively there, one of his things is that it's like philosophy is not about what's true, but it's about asking the question of how one might live, how might one live. So there is this thing of like, it's like trying to be not ideological, but almost a pragmatic way for just what's the most joyful way that we can
right.
Live
well, I mean,
lives,
we can't sum up the man's work, but like, I think when you're talking about things like the rhizomatic and like aerial roots and like, like the subterranean arborists and like I feel like that's his take on what is. Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not a fucking academic. You know what I mean? I'm sure there's.
We're that's what we're here for, man.
That's the way I'm a suit.
Yeah. No, of course.
That's the way I take it in. Do you know what I mean? It's like shit is rhizomatic. It's not like shit should be rhizomatic or like go out there and do something rhizomatic. And when you try to go out there and do something rhizomatic, what you end up with is something that's like top down, controlled, and like specific and particular. And that's really like striated and like more on that like fabric vibe. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like I think that it's like if you just when you just like allow things into the space, you open the space and then things flow into the space, right? Like nature loves a vacuum. And when you allow those things in, like if you're actually open to it, like what you end up with is something that's like deeply heterogeneous and like an assemblage of like, heterogeneous actors, and then that brings up surprising connection and like possibilities. And I mean something that like by the way, my attitude about this is like an unpopular feature of my leadership style. Even at the venue, people are like, dude, could we try to like line this shit up a little bit more? Like, you know what I mean? Like, do you move these guys over at night or something so that this thing flows into that thing with like less like difficulty? But like, I mean, for me, and I always say this, it's like that moment where one thing becomes another, and there's like the people wrapping up from the early show and the people coming in for the late show, and they're all in the building together. To me, that's the main event.
That's sick. Yeah. difference edges rubbing up against each other, and the sort of sparks of the edges interacting. I'll tell you, when I think of Hollow, actually, if I think of a scene that is kind of like my first scene that I think of, and I don't even know what you would call this scene, but it's such a scene that's sort of like the I keep shouting them out, but the Purple Tape Pedigree thing, and sort of like the Kill Alters, Bonnie Baxter, Sour Spirit, like just that Deli Girls, like that intersection of like punk, rap, noise.
Yeah.
But it is coming out of rap as much as coming out of punk and noise, and it's got a club element to it too, and it's like largely non-white, and like a lot of queer artists and stuff. Like, what do you even call that? It's such a vibrant thing happening. I mean,
all of that, like, roughly, in my opinion, would fall under the nomenclature, like PostClub, or
is that about right? I mean, because
I mean, some of what Gang does, without a doubt, is just noise,
Yeah.
But like, I mean, I think that, like, man, we could go so deep on this. It's like, oh man, if you look at an artist like Dream Crusher,
or another one,
or Gang, or even though there are absolutely, like, undeniably, like, you can be like, all right, this is a noise artist. You if you're paying attention, and if you have an awareness of, like, DJ culture and club culture and whatnot, like, there are decisions that they make about their sets that along the lines of the logic of, like, most noise scenes just wouldn't happen. Do you know what I mean? Because there's, like, I mean, first of all, I want to make a few things clear. Firstly, all of those people have played at Hollow a lot. At the same time, I don't claim any type of, like, responsibility or.
Oh, no. I'm saying more like it's just cool that those folks seem to choose to play at Hollow a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just
they have all played there a lot, and I do think that there's, like, an affinity between the place and those people, and that's probably why they choose to play there. And at the same time, I really feel like a venue is what happens in the venue. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And like your role as a person who's holding that space is to just get out of the way.
Yeah.
Do you know? So I don't have that. I think there are curators. I mean, like I said, I'm kind of anti-curatorial, but, like, there are people who kind of sort of take credit for, like, breaking a band or something.
Oh no, I hate that stuff. No, I was reversing it. I was saying they validate the venue by being by being cool. That's sort of what I'm saying. Yeah.
Every time we have those lineups, I feel happy that they keep wanting to come back and everything. At the same time, like, I don't personally court that. Like, I mean, we're just kind of in dialogue. They might hit the account and be like, "Hey, do you have this date?" Yeah, sure. Boom. Like, they're definitely, like, fam and, like, friends of the venue. Like, I would, like, give them a better deal than I might give most people, or, like, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to support them and whatever, but, like, they're doing what they're doing. And I do think that there's, like, an overlap in, like, ideology and disposition there. But, like, yeah. So, I mean, okay. So that's one thing I wanted to clarify. The other thing I wanted to clarify is that, like, I'm going to, like, if I'm talking about what they're doing, I'm talking about it from my point of view. I don't know what these people are thinking. I don't talk to them about that. But I do think that those are all people who understand and are steeped in club culture and performance and, like, DJ culture and whatnot. I mean, Gang is a great DJ. I know that Lil Wayne has a lot of, knowledge of all of that. And there are ways in which they relate to their content that, in my experience, are attributable to, like, having a background in club music. Also, this is, like, an even deeper cut. Like, if you look at noise music, like, there's like an idea that's kind of, like, in parlance in the dance music community about, like, decolonized dance music, or
I hear that.
Decolonized spaces for dance culture and whatnot. And if you look at, I think that there's again, this is just my take. If you consider the origins of noise music as we generally understand it, which generally I think are traceable to people like Luigi Russolo and the Futurists and, like, the early 20th century, and then up through, you know, people like Milton Babbitt and blah, blah, blah. And then there's this kind of like metal offshoot and da, da, da. And then you look at, conversely, you look at the integration of noise sounds in like dance hall, which will, I've been to Jamaica a bunch of times. You actually listen to dance hall radio in Jamaica. It's like half the fucking shit that you're hearing are like sirens and lasers and like, like heavily riddled with noise sounds. And in the context of dance hall, those noise sounds are like a reappropriation of sounds that are associated with colonization, like imported into the context of music, like those sirens and whatnot. These are things that had a significance in their history that they align with like the colonizers, right? And then they reappropriate these things and make them musical sounds. That's a very, very kind of stick-figured representation of that idea.
Whereas the futurist, it's like the opposite. It's like the futurist, the noise is the sound of like the cruel hand of the fucking oppressor coming down around your throat, basically.
Right. Like if you look at like noise music in the context of Western music history, they're trying to do something cool. They're trying to like disrupt something that maybe they have critical feelings about. But they're doing that from the point of view of being a person who's benefited from those systems. And even if they're seeking to disrupt it, which is fucking cool, that's good, you know, it is different.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So like if you look at the manner in which, you know, sound system cultures stemming from Jamaican musical practice or just generally like, you know, African-American musical practice, and that is like the most profound history of sound system culture in America, like techno and footwork and house and even disco. I mean, disco doesn't really work a lot with noise sounds, but like all of those sound system cultures are rooted in like the African American experience. And you look at the integration of like harsh or noise sounds. That's like a fundamentally different attitude about noise sounds.
Yep. Yeah. No, totally.
I think that in some way. And I, you know, like, again, I'm not a musicologist and I haven't like interviewed these people or anything, but it's my perception and my experience that in some way, the manner in which they're approaching making music that could otherwise be qualified as noise music differs from their predecessors in that there is that awareness of the history of noise sounds in musics that are not being made by the colonizer, but by the colonized.
No, totally. Yeah. I remember at Trans Picos because Sam used to run or co-run Trans Picos, which if anyone knows, that's a venue kind of right across the street from Hollow, right? Basically, I remember one of these. There was this huge sort of club techno night, and then in the basement there was like one of those power electronics, like sketchy, like you know, like sketchy, like shaved head bomber jacket. You know, power electronics sets, and I was just like, these are both noise, but this is a very different vibe. And
dude, one of the like best and worst experiences I ever had at Trans Picos was we had Wolf Eyes, and Wolf Eyes apparently, I learned all of this after the fact, but Wolf Eyes apparently had specifically requested to be the only group on the bill, but the presenter had booked 2 openers. Okay. And so then they play, and the openers all have these like elaborate table electronic setups and shit. So it like takes forever to fucking get everybody on and off stage and so on and so forth. So finally, like Wolf Eyes gets on at like 10:45, and they're fixing to play like a, you know, festival length set, you know, like 90 minutes or some shit, you know?
Yeah.
And at midnight, I've got one of our most like lit, like QT POC, like Jamaican queer dance hall parties. That's like, you know, it was like one of the things we were doing a lot then.
Yeah.
And like basically one of like my sound guy had to go fucking give Wolf Eyes the hook. And like shut down.
That's rough.
And the place was fucking sold out. And then we had 15 minutes to turn it over and do this. And it was
that's on the promoter, man. Whoever booked those opening acts, that's on them. They screwed Wolf Eyes.
I agree. That's not how it went down, but I agree. But like and then we had to just flip the room in like 15 minutes and get this like dance hall party up, and it was intense for everybody involved, man. It was like
I gotta
really
say,
wild.
I did have a sort of a change in attitude. Like I remember there was a while when like I feel like venues, in a way, just because, or it seemed like it was just because it's like the rent. I mean, just what it costs to keep a venue open. It's like where it's just turned over to this thing where like, okay, if you're playing in like a metal band or a punk thing or a guitar-based rock related thing, it's like there's always going to be like a techno thing after your thing. Like you're going to have to rap it. Either I feel like there was this crossover thing where it's like that was just almost always the case rather than once in a while, you know? And like,
Well, yeah.
even at, you know, and I sort of thought of it, I remember at first being like kind of bitter about it. Like, oh, it's just this economic imperative. Like it sucks. We have to share nights. Then after a while, I'm like, people like that stuff better than the weird guitar stuff, you know? So I'm just like, who am I really, like, you know what I mean? It's like, if I were doing that, then I would have the later cool slot. I mean, that's on me, you know?
Yeah, you know, I mean, the other thing is like, I mean, something that I try to always tell people at Hollow is like, it's like, look, man, if you have a vision for what should happen from 11 to 4 a.m., like, bring it on, man. Like, let's do it, you know? But like, the reality for like a for-profit venue in New York City, and by for-profit, I don't mean like we're making a lot of money, because we're not. But like,
no, but just, yeah, like,
I just mean we don't have funding. Do you
yeah.
know what I mean? Like, we can't just take an L. You know, we need to make money.
Yeah,
like, the reality is, like, you have to sell alcohol till 4 in the morning. Period. I mean, if you can't just close up shop at 11 or 12 and go home. It's just too expensive to run the venue. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So
Yeah.
you end up getting in all these lanes with nightlife because it's a necessity. I mean, I personally love nightlife. I think it's great. I think parties. That's something that I've actually really valued about like operating venues. Because when I first opened Pico's, I really wasn't like trying to do that shit, and I really didn't do much of it, you know. And we just realized like we got to do this shit because we're not making it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it just seems to me like, I don't know, like it's like I feel like I keep jockeying the scene that I'm not even participating in at all. But really, that realm seems to just have not just more popularity, but just like more interesting music going on than most stuff in other realms. I mean, just sonically, just on a pure sonic level. And I'm not sure if it's because I didn't know about stuff before or if it's like stuff's changed. But it's like, I mean, like in the 2000s when we really were starting to do stuff. I mean, that whole DIY, I mean, I'll say rock, even though it was, you know, also psychedelic noise and whatever. But I mean, just the whole, like the Todd Patrick kind of realm and the cake shop and that we were doing. I mean, it didn't overlap at all with club music or post-club stuff in any way. So, like, I mean, I wonder if now there's more overlap, but the people from the club realm are kind of like just have more, like they're just kind of like, it's more of like a happening scene, but it's like overlapping more. Or if it's just that was happening and we were just not even knowing about it or something.
I mean,
you know,
there's a million reasons for this, and it would be hard to sum them up. But like, if you're a really young person coming to, like, I mean, let's say Brooklyn, because that's what I know about, like right now, and you're trying to do some weird far out shit that like fucks people up and is like bugged out, you're not starting a band. You have some like weird electronic music performance project, and you also DJ and make tracks and work with MCs and shit. I mean, like, the whole energy of the scene has gone towards individuals, not towards groups.
That's
like
a part of it. Yes.
Like a group like Kill Alters or Deli Girls that play in the context of those lineups are kind of a standout.
I felt that. Yeah, I felt that actually. Yeah, you know who's another one that I opened for with Nothing Human out here is Machine Girl. Not Machine Girl. No. Sorry, no. Machine Girl's great. No, not Machine Girl. The fuck is that band called? I can't even fucking remember what that band is called. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Oh, I want to know. But yeah, I mean, if we were doing what we were doing in 2001, 2, 3.
Girl Pusher. That was a band. Sorry, Girl Pusher is the band I'm talking about.
Oh, I don't know that one. Interesting.
Yeah, they're very like I don't know if they hang with that whole sort of like PTP crowd, but it seems like in line with that, you know. Anyway, sorry. Wait, go ahead.
if we were doing what we were doing in the aughts now, we'd be forming some weird table electronics that also uses CDJs, like
Yeah.
thing that could plug into nightlife but could also play a show, and I mean, those are, there are great bands out there, you know what I mean?
No,
But
there always are. There always are, but it's just more like, yeah, where the attention are. Like you're talking about festivals, the whole festival world. The sort of booking as discourse, sort of back and forth, is based more on the post club thing. You're getting a bunch of weird noise feedback now. Speaking of tabletop,
it might be because there's like literally like a plane flying by.
That's probably it. But no, it's interesting hearing you say that, like, yeah, moving to New York and just being like, I want to do weird, bugged out stuff, and that then you're just channeled not into band stuff but into solo artistry. That's also an economic thing as well, too. Just, I mean, doing bands, as we both know, is economically dumb. I mean, you have to have a rehearsal space. You have to.
Yeah, you got to take all this shit around with you and stuff.
Yeah, just bringing amps downstairs and just, splitting the money with a bunch of people. Power dynamics of who's writing what and credit and stuff, Yeah,
it's a different time, man. Different time.
Yeah.
But anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what's up with that shit. I mean, yeah, I don't know. We covered a lot of ground vis-a-vis the venue.
Yeah. I mean, that's just what I'm really interested. I mean, the thing is, this whole time you've been like continuing just as a musical artist. I mean, you never have stopped doing that. It's just sort of become. I remember there was this time. I remember you very clearly were like, can't remember when. It must have been like maybe 10 years ago. You were just like, I've decided that my deal is not that I'm a musician. It is that I am this person in the world with all this different stuff happening, and it's like no one thing is even more important than the other, But I feel like we talked about the venue and everything, the community building kind of more than like music wise. I mean, Diamond Terrifier, you're playing out. Seems like you're touring as much as you were with Zs, right? I mean,
yeah, I mean, that's been my main like touring, like actual like production thing for the last couple of years. I mean, yeah, let's do a sesh on the music thing. Man, would it be cool if I just like dipped and went to the bathroom for a second?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, cool.
Absolutely.
You can hold court,
Absolutely.
Give me 1 second. I also should plug in my phone. Hold on.
I'll do crowd work, as they call it.
It.
Does anyone have any questions? Just like in the chat. Bjorn says, "Embrace this clash." Yeah, I embrace all. Clash in general is a thing. Yeah, I'll tell you, with Nothing Human, I'm kind of going more on that club. It's really not that club techno stuff though. It's really more like that dark wave kind of thing. Kind of goes back to band stuff. Anyway, dude, if we're shooting the shit and just talking, man, I miss New York. I have to say. Hopefully when COVID abates, I can actually dig my heels, dig my feet into LA in a more substantive way. I feel like what's big out here more than in New York. I feel like out here, like gothy like duo things is kind of like a big, I don't know, like dark wave 2 pieces. Like there's a lot of those that are very good. A lot of very good stuff in that. LA remains more gothy than New York, I think, in that sort of Manson-y, black magic from the ocean type, desert ocean energy. Yeah. I don't know when I'm going to be back in New York, man. It's kind of a bum vibe. Yeah, we got some people are still watching this. Anyone, any questions? Fire them off. Fire them off at me. Fire them off at Sam. Steer the conversation here. We haven't really gotten much into just straight like aesthetics, Sam can go on for hours about just straight like literally sound, I thought that was interesting as hell when he was talking about noise from dance hall, using noise like as a decolonizing thing, which is pretty interesting. We haven't talked a lot about political stuff. It's probably good. I feel like every time I delve into some, I don't know, every time I start talking about like the left and the right and the culture and this, I don't know, I end up like, I don't know about regretting it, but it's like, it's good to maybe take a rest from that stuff for a second. Oh, you know what I've been trying to do? I don't know if you guys noticed, but I've been trying not to curse. That's my new thing. Trying not to curse. I think it takes away from some of the gravitas. Trying to smirk less on here also. I feel like I was smirking a lot, and I watch these videos, and I've got this little sort of, this sort of look on my face, like I'm trying to keep it positive, and not be too dour. But it's like, it just sometimes it comes off as sometimes my smirking comes off as smug. So I'm trying to take the edge. Here's my man.
Who's being dour?
No, I was saying I'm trying to smirk less on the show because I look back at stuff and I've always got this little like fucking grin, like I'm trying to keep it light and positive, but it just I don't know. Sometimes I'm just like this.
Yeah, just growing the beard out.
Yeah, just hide. Oh shit. Yeah, just hide in the beard, just cower.
Yeah, exactly. You can smirk all you want.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you still have that tin can thing now coming back. Ooh, what are you drinking? Oh, it's like evening over there. You're like, what are you getting? Is that Fernet? You drinking some Fernet?
No, man. I'm glad you asked. I'm drinking. I have this selection of like when I go on the road and shit. In Europe, dominantly, like Amaro. It's like a spirit that tends to be local. Like there's Amaro that are specific to a region, right? Like
it's like a genre of thing.
Yeah, like in Slovenia they have Blinkovitz. This is an Amaro from Sardinia called Mirto, which is made from the myrtle leaf. And I miss traveling, man. But I have this like array of shit from like my fucking exploits.
Yeah,
and I get it out. It reminds me, man.
Dude, Europe still crushes it. I mean, obviously, it just crushes the States. That vibe of showing up early, that vibe between sound check and set time in Europe is just you just can't beat that when you just start realizing how much stuff's free and they're just bringing you, and you just like
it's the best shit, man. I mean, yeah, in Europe, like that's when you want to show up to the gig at like 3.
Yeah. But then they smugly make fun of that it sucks in the States, to where they're like, oh, you do not have Zs? And I'm like, we don't have Zs. Like, just give me the thing. You have to like make fun of how like cold-blooded my place is.
That was like, that's like a thing that this is like an interesting thing that I noticed, man. It's like when Obama was in office, people on tour in Europe, man, it'd be so exhausting. Like people would always want to talk about, well, like Obama, like he's really great, and like I feel like everybody in America is like really excited about him, but like aren't you aware that like his policies are actually da 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 da? And it's right. I have this conversation every fucking night, man. Like I'm not here to account for Barack Obama.
I know.
But what I've noticed, man, is that this is hilarious. Since Trump has been elected, people like don't bring that shit up, I think, out of like sympathy.
Yeah. Well, they assume that you aren't down with it, whereas like Obama, they want to poke holes in your patriotism that they think you have or something.
People have said so much crazy shit to me about like American politics, and people like the most dominant theme is like, like we meet these Americans and they seem so reasonable, but like America, it's like so terrible. Like, and I'm just like, man, you meet Americans with fucking passports in Europe, bro. It's like,
I know.
Do you understand who's out there, dude? It's like fucking, it's 300 million people in America, man.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was talking about. Or someone put me on. I mean, just saying United States in the plural, referring to it like the United States are doing this. United States are a country, like not is, like just to indicate that it's not united. I mean, it's actually like in the process of just patchworking out, like fragmenting or whatnot. But
yeah, it's super out.
I don't know.
The United States is the same.
Yeah, but you've been but yeah, I don't know, you've been touring over there. I mean, before COVID, doing Diamond Terrifier. So Diamond Terrifier is kind of like I mean, without being forced about it, obviously, it's a little bit more in the direction of club. I mean, not club like it's dance, but it's like solo guy that could be on those bills or whatever.
Well, yeah, but you know what? Actually, like more recently, no, I've been taking it actually in the direction of just like. I mean, that actually was the idea, you know, like what I wanted to do was like in the way that like Zs kind of became this weird amalgam of whatever it was and ingratiated ourselves with, you know, bands like Gang Gang Dance and Black Dice and whatever.
We didn't ingratiate, dude. We put them on to shit. But anyway, yeah.
like what we did in reference to that scene at that time, like I was kind of imagining like, oh, I'm gonna take like these like elements of sound system culture and incorporate them to what I'm doing with the saxophone and put these bills together that will somehow like weave that into like that world. But actually in the last couple of years I've been moving it just in the direction of just like solo extended technique improvised saxophone, just kind of more like just like it is what it is, you know.
Just experimental music, capital E.
I mean, I think I sent you that set from Milan, actually.
Oh yeah, that was very much. I wouldn't call it free jazz, but it was very much, yeah, like solo saxophone, like Braxton, Roscoe Mitchell, you know.
Yeah, it's just kind of in that world. It was just kind of like, you know what, like, I just want to do what I want to do, man.
Yeah. I'm telling you what, I'm interested. Well, this isn't like a huge deep conversation, but like I've always been, you know, I guess we've talked about, but just how you don't really make the free jazz hang that much in New York. I mean, even though you like totally could on every level, you know, just aesthetically. I mean, I guess I'm kind of the same way. Like you're like originally coming out of jazz and improvised music so hard, but then, you know, all these cats that are, I mean, there's a vibrant thing, right? I mean, in New York right now, I mean, there always is, but especially right now, I feel like improvised music is like really a thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of cats, man. But yeah, I mean, I'm not interested in that world. I don't know.
I mean, me neither, not so much, but I'm interested in it is insofar as it is popping off to an extent. I mean, like,
yeah, it is. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's like I think like. I don't know I don't really know what to say about it. Like,
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, just neither of us. Like, it's one of these things I miss. Like, having left New York, I'm like, man, I should have played more free improv. Like, they're just right there, you know?
I think that those people are doing great work. Do you know what I'm saying? But let me think here how to say this. I'm kind of only interested in things that I'm not sure are possible.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like I'm not, you know, to become like a talented, like fucking, you know, precocious, like improvising saxophonist with good technique and then like shine in the world of like, you know, roulette and blank forms and shit like that. I don't know. That just seems so obvious to me. It's like
no, I mean
well, I'm not curious about whether I could do that. I mean, and that doesn't mean that I think I could definitely do it. Maybe I couldn't, but it's just like an obvious thing to try to do. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I play this difficult music on the saxophone, so here are some other people who also do that. So I'm gonna go try to meet those people, and then we'll all play shows together.
Yeah. No, I don't know. Yeah, I am to some extent interested though how, like, I don't know, there is some overlap between a sort of like, I mean, I don't know about the club aspect of it, but like this sort of, there is some stuff with like the newer noise stuff overlapping with like actually somewhat more traditional jazz cats that are new. Like I was listening to that band whose name escapes me with More Mother and
Irreversible
Entanglements.
Yeah.
You know, it's like they're great, and that's one of those interesting things that's like I feel like is very new.
Well, yeah,
but it's like her vibe is like, I think of her as part of this whole new like post club like noise thing. But then the musicians she's playing with are like you know, far out jazz cats, but actually kind of like more traditional than like, you know, whatever. They play grooves and melodic stuff, and there's the blues, and it's, you know, it's not just like skronky, squeaky, you know.
But like, first of all, it's interesting that you mentioned them in particular, because I mean, first of all, I would say that that's interesting because it's not what I was, you know, like what I was like railing on about like, just so you know, oh, like go try to fucking play roulette. You know, it's like irreversible entanglements is not that.
They're not on that vibe. Yeah, no. True.
But then also, it's funny that you mentioned that, because Luke Stewart, the bass player in Irreversible Entanglements, is like he's like in that world. He's like the guy that I like really actually fuck with. Like me and Luke Stewart do tons of shit together. He like just played my birthday. We had like a week. We had a weekend night at Hollow on Tuesdays. Yeah. For like
he took over the room that I moved out of in Ridgewood with Lopez and stuff. He took over my room, so it's like tradition, one of those legacy houses and stuff.
Yeah, Luke Stewart is sick, man. Luke Stewart is awesome, but like, you know, Luke Stewart also, he does that like solo like electric and acoustic bass shit that's more like a drone ambient project, and like and when you know, like when I like talk and build with Luke Stewart, I mean, he's talking about all this same shit that I'm talking about. Like if he books a night at Hollow, he actually he'll book like some free jazz shit, like, and be like, no, I want like the 10 o'clock set in the bar, because I know you're gonna have some weird shit happening in the back room, and I just want to fucking like be in front of those people, because like I know they're not expecting it. Like he's on that same wavelength of like of like, I mean, the disappointment for me about like generally like the avant-garde music scene in New York is that they really have become content with doing this kind of like recombining of like the same 20 artists on different bills just over and over and over and over. I mean, it's just like, it's like there's this cast of characters, and they tend to play together, and they vary like all of the lineups. It's like if you look at like 24 lineups, it's essentially like the same 20 people. Do you know what I mean? And they're not really doing a lot to like kind of reimagine the boundaries of what they're doing. Do you know? And it's like there is some of what you're talking about, like oh man, what's that saxophonist's name? She does this thing called coin. It's gonna drive me nuts, dude. Oh, I'm
not sure if I would know.
No, you would know if I said it. But I know she's done some things with like Gang and like, but like I feel like the kind of like music coming out of like AACM and like William Parker and shit like that, like they should be all over this like Chino Amobi Gang, Dream Crusher. It's like, dude, like that's the fucking future of like what you laid down aesthetically as far as like revolutionary aesthetics, like in the context of your milieu.
Yeah, AACM is very much, that's the sort of touchstone from the past, it seems like.
And like the overlap, the membrane between those communities is very thin, man. Like, and like I actually like, I work with some of the organizations that are like really large in that world, that I'm not gonna call out by name, and I'm like, yo, like this is the shit that you should be fucking with. Like you shouldn't be looking for some fucking kid from New England Conservatory that sounds like what you do. You should be looking for the kid that's doing what you did 30 years ago. And like, that's these cats. Do you know what I mean? Like, y'all need to embrace these people. And it's just, there's not really like that much openness to it.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know. It's like, what can you do?
Well, a lot of it seems like what a lot of what is called experimental music, at least in New York, is almost like, it's almost like a codified, I mean, not strictly codified, but it's like experimental music, capital E, capital M, is almost like a genre, or it's like a tradition now. It's like a traditional form of music. Whereas stuff that is really experimental doesn't get called experimental music. It gets called post-club or noise or whatever,
It's become like, I mean, my opinion, is that it's become like it really, and like it's become this way, and it's become this way with this community's complicity. like really museumified. Like
that's
really,
what I meant.
like,
Yeah.
like we're gonna like content ourselves to play with these institutions who can support this. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that like really differs like very staunchly from, I feel like, the scene that we encountered when we were in New York in the 90s. I will continue to acknowledge that you grew up in New York, but anyhow, like when we were kind of in
I
New York
appreciate
in the 90s, and like people like Zorn and William Parker and Elliot Sharp and Chris Speed and like all these folks, you know, like Zena Parkins and so forth. They were just out like playing gigs, you know what I mean? Like at clubs, you know what I mean? And you'd go to these gigs would be like lit, you know what I mean? They'd be like packed out, you know, like that.
I do remember Zorn doing free improv stuff at the Knitting Factory with just like whoever, and it would be, there'd be like, you know, 150, 200 people there watching.
Yeah, and like not even just Zorn, man. Like, I mean, like there were like a lot. I mean, I feel like just that entire category of music just had a lot more like credibility. Well, no, credibility is the wrong word. I'm sorry. Had a lot more like visibility and like resonance at that time. Like I remember like in the like early 2000s, what kind of when like No Neck Blues Band was like large on the scene, and they were kind of present in these like art world lands and stuff. It was kind of like this thing like within like indie or DIY culture, like you might be like into Tortoise, but like if Cecil Taylor played Tonic, you were there. It was like
very much. Yeah.
It was like this part of the general awareness that like this music is legit and we fuck with it. You know what I mean? And I don't know. I can't. I mean, I've been here the whole time. I should know, but I don't know exactly what happened. But like, that is not my perception of how shit goes down right now.
Yeah. I remain fascinated with free jazz and jazz, just the way it comes in and out of people caring and like how they care about it and like who cares about it. It's just like it doesn't die, but it also doesn't like evolve like hugely. But that, I don't know.
I mean, it's like the best shit out there. I mean, I love that shit like forever. I mean, it's like, forget about it, man. I mean, like M. Lamar had a tweet recently about like free jazz. Did you see that? Where it's the only African American musical form that has persistently resisted commercialization.
I guess so. Yeah.
Half century. It's like sick. It's so sick. I mean, and just like aesthetically and just like energetically, it's like absolutely like for me like just top. You know, it's like my favorite stuff. But like when it comes to just how I want to move around in the world, like it's not it for me.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's like, I feel like it takes a lot though to like avoid that just playing the saxophone. I mean, in a sense, you know what I mean? But it's almost like, I don't know, I feel like you never really like have been like, I am a saxophonist, even though, you know, like in a way it's always been more like composer.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. I mean, composer, musician, you know, producer,
yeah.
You know,
yeah. I mean, I'm interested. I mean, like, I really like accept at this point. I'm going to turn the light on. I really accept at this point about myself that like my dominant interest is actually in like shit that has to do with just like society and social space and shit. It's like, I mean, I love music. I'm pretty good at it, you know, but that's not what like gets me out of bed in the morning. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
like I can't even really say that I understand what exactly that would even mean. Like, what would it be that I'd be trying to do? You know, come up with some new compositional format or something. Like, I don't even.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's awesome. I love just that you've kind of arrived just over time at this vibe, because I just remember when we were first rolling, like in Zs, like in the early days, it was so all about like, we just make these pieces, like I'm working, like that joke that we always used to of just like the imitating, like when you'd run into a classical composer that, you know, be like, you know, what have you been up to? It's like, been working on this piece, man. It's just that thing where it's all tormented and you're like, it just sums up the classical thing of just like, I'm working so hard on this one piece for a year, and it's just like, you know, it's like, yeah, that you've really gone to just, I mean, we were kind of on that vibe. I mean, we joked about it, but we were very much on some like, just all about what is the next note going to be. If this is a B natural instead of a B flat, then like that matters, you know.
Right.
And
I mean,
you've really evolved into a whole like more broader kind of holistic, you know, type of.
But I mean, like the thing that made Z's work was like the thing that like how let me think here. Hold on. Those early pieces had this specific utility because they had this kind of turnkey effect on a specific setting. You understand what I mean? Like we were able to enter a space socially, like in terms of performance ritual, that really on paper should have been off limits to us. It's like you have these guys coming out of music school playing through composed compositions on sheet music on music stands, you know, wearing these weird uniforms sitting there. It's like there wasn't really anything about what we were doing on paper that should have worked in the context of the scene that we were interested in, which was like Orth Realm and Lightning Bolt and Airborne Radar and Black Dice and all that shit. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And then yet somehow it worked. I mean, that's why it was interesting. Like it's not like it was interesting because they were these very, very well put together compositions. I mean, they were. That's true. But there's like a million people who wrote very, very well put together compositions that year. You know what I mean?
No,
and like,
I feel it.
It's like the social utility. It's like the interdependent quality between what you're doing and where you are that produces the meaning. You know, it's like, I feel like very deeply about this. It's like the primary engagement of the artist is with the world, and secondarily it's with the medium.
Yep. No, I feel you. And no, and you did talk about that from the very beginning. I do remember. I do remember talking about where this was going to land or where it could land or, you know, where like the context of it. So yeah, it's interesting that like, you know, pouring over whether you're doing a B flat or a B natural, that's just this motor for being inspired from, for putting out this music where the ultimate point is not the B flat or the B natural. It's how it affects culture.
That's not to in any way shortchange the importance of those decisions. I mean, those I personally really believe in those compositions. Do you know what I mean? And I think that they are really good compositions. You know, it's like you know, the transmission of a Mercedes has to be a great transmission. I mean, do you know what I mean? It's like it can't just be great because like, you know, a wealthy person buys it or something. It actually has to be great. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like. Do you understand the analogy or the metaphor that I'm drawing there? Meaning, like, I think that I'm saying that like I'm saying that the engagement with the engagement with the medium is secondary to the engagement with the world. It's not less important. It has to be great. Like the compositions needed to be great. The band needed to be well rehearsed. We needed to have a great live show. All of that needed to be the case. But that's not where the meaning came from exclusively. Like the engagement with the world activated the meaning of the work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
No.
And
I feel
it all
this,
needed to be great, and we worked really hard on it, and it was good. You know, it was like I'm not here to fucking, you know.
No, it's like, I mean, it's almost like it's like first and last. It's a social thing in a social context, and then everywhere in between, it's the medium and the construction.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's not that it's not important. It's extremely important, and I love doing it. I love music. I love playing music, but it's like what I'm motivated by isn't like, you know, becoming a great technician on the instrument or
no, of course,
or like coming up with some formal innovation or something. Like, what would that even be? Just or some like, or you could have like a vision about like genre implosion or interacting or splicing or something. I don't know. None of that shit motivates me. Like, what I'm interested in is like the possibility of performance for people somewhere together. Do you know what I mean? Like that's like the final thing, you know, and then like the rest of it is like supporting that moment, you know, like I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, physically being there, I suppose. I mean, it's just like, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, at that point, it was all about.
That's like actually, I'm finding that to be like somewhat limiting. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like I do. Once I know that something is possible, I do kind of lose interest in it.
That's sick. That's great. No, that's awesome. I just I don't know, man. Just talking about like making music, like where it fits in the world. I keep saying this, but it's just my sense of what is objectively going on is so dissolved or dissolving at this point that, you know, for me it's almost like the idea of working really hard on something in order to have it land in the world. I'm not clear enough about what objectively the world even is. I feel so confused about that it's like I'm less motivated to like work my ass off to construct something to put out there. Whereas like this whole YouTube thing, it's like it's almost feeling more meaningful because it's like this vibe of constantly checking in. So like, so what's going on? Like, what is that? Like, you know, just kind of like scratching away in this unprecious way about like even trying to orient like what's going on like culturally, politically, you know.
Right. Well, to me, that like gets back to that gets back to the idea of like comfort with being whack. Like you like if you like, have you ever seen have you ever seen the press photo of the Melvins on their first album?
not recently enough that I remember. No.
And they're just these like, dude, they're just these like creeps, dude. You know what I'm saying? It's like pre-grunge. It's like pre-Nirvana. Do you know what I mean? It's like, and it's like, I think it's like what's like important to understand is it's like you look at that like in retrospect from the point of view of like, okay, like Melvins and then Soundgarden and then Nirvana, and then there was like this big moment, and then like some of those bands survived, and like they're still, you know, the Melvins are still playing, and like this guy's in Fatimas and like whatever. You know what I mean? Like you see it with all this information. And like, but I think you have to try to like imagine. It's like, no, these guys literally just were like losers, man. I mean, like it wasn't deep, dude. It was dark and weird. It like actually was fucking not cool. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
well, that's what.
Like,
yeah. Well,
I don't know. It's like, I think there needs. Not that that's like all people need to be doing with their life is becoming some kind of depraved fucking deadbeat or something. But it's like you do have to be open to the idea that like you might have to do something that isn't working and makes you seem fucking whack for a long time to get to something worthwhile.
Well, that's what. Man, people disagree, but I think that's what's happening with some of that troll culture, you know, like that online. Not everyone knows that I'm not into the like, you know, the sincerely alt-right part of it, obviously, but that just that troll culture, it's like it's become this rich critique of stuff that's necessary, but like had to start off as just this ugly, like, dude, come on, man, like, you know, like, you know, or
right,
like whatever,
right.
or you know, like I gave.
Just like Wojak, just like actually Wojak.
Yeah, just this like lowbrow shit. Yeah, like literally just being Wojak, like fucking. I mean, just not even Pepe, just Wojak, like just even and just like I don't know, like yeah, like I was just checking out like incel shit, and like I don't know, I got some flack on here for coming to the defense of that guy Negative EXP. Who maybe I shouldn't have defended him. I don't know, maybe he's whack. But
that guy, yeah.
You know, he's whatever. He's like the, you know, the musical voice of like incels. Like there is something about the incel thing that I do find. I'm like, what is there that's kind of deep about this? Just because that is that vibe of just like. It's like starting from the place of being losers. I mean, it's starting from but not even like, ooh, I'm the tragic, you know, the beautiful loser. It's like, no, like actual, like there's like an ugly whackness to it. I don't know. There's something, I feel like that ugly internet thing is now sort of becoming more like, deep or something, or aesthetically it's like evolving, like the evil parts of it are kind of being shed and it's sort of coming into its own or something, you know.
No, I mean it definitely has that vibe. I mean, you know, time will tell, but like I mean the bottom line, right, is that like the outlets that are available to us, right, like now, like if you look at like Pitchfork, been very kind to Zs, you know, whatever, and you know, Fact Magazine and Dazed and all and these things and the festivals and stuff, like that shit is to culture now in the way that MTV was to culture in like the 90s.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So like
it's jive. I mean,
So, yeah,
I
it's
mean,
just, it's just like, you're trying to like get up in that world. You're just trying to be, you're just trying to, you're just trying to do something that everybody's going to like applaud you for,
yeah,
like,
it's
so
just being a normie, basically. I mean, it's just normie shit.
whatever.
Yeah,
Like, I
yeah.
mean, I don't care. I'm not mad at that per se. It's not what I want to do, but it's like, it's like, I'm just, all I'm saying is that like literally just is what it is. And then when you get to like NPR, like you're going to do like a Tiny Desk concert or something. I mean, again, it's like, I'm not mad at it. It's like, it's fine. I'm for success. Like if people feel like they're having success, like good for them. That's great. It like raises all boats when somebody's successful. That's awesome. But like if what you're really trying to do is like come out with some angle that like nobody was expecting, it's very unlikely that it's going to come through any of those channels. It's like
Yeah.
extremely, extremely unlikely.
Well,
Do you know
that's
what I
what, yeah, I mean, that's what critique is, you know? I mean, critique, I keep thinking about that word, you know what I mean? I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean negativity in the sense of trolling, but I mean, yeah, just, the unexpected, something that's to some extent contrarian, you know, it's what Z's was at the beginning, you know, from its first instance it was critical, you know,
Yeah. I mean,
providing a critique.
so something like when me and Patrick are working on a new thing, and when we return, I'm really interested in like what you know what I really think I really want to do is to do like a proper national U.S. tour where we play like minor markets and shit. You know what I mean? Like just Akron, Ohio.
Yeah, back in the, yeah.
Denton, Texas, and
Yeah,
shit. You know what I mean?
Who's
Like,
booking shows in Denton? Asking
yeah,
people.
exactly.
Yeah.
Because it's like you kind of got to step out of this. Like, it's become all right. It's like a really good analogy. I feel like for culture in general is like a part is like the like life cycle of like a raging house party.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? Like if your friend is like having a house party, it's like your homie and shit, you know, and like it's like gonna spark off at like 8, and you show up at 7:45, and you're helping him or her put out the fucking dip and shit. You know what I mean? Like that's got this like warm, like it just feels so like you're doing this thing together. It's like positive and celebratory. It's like such a good vibe. You know what I mean? And then it's like 8, 9, 10, 11, it's like sparked off, man. It's like people are there. You're like, this is a success, man. Great party, you know. Then it's like 12, 1, 2. And then it's like 2. It's like starting to get like, whoa, like, okay, like, do you know these people and shit? You know what I'm saying? And then like by 3, you're like, dude, I'm getting out of here. You know what I'm saying? Like this has just become a situation that like this was sick. Like good luck with this. Like I need to fucking take off. You know what I mean? And it's like I kind of feel like just the life cycle of this thing that we've been a part of. It is now at that like 3 a.m. vibe. You know? Which is fine, dude. Like whatever. I've thrown house parties. I've fucking worked it out. 3 a.m. You know, you get everybody out and then by 5 a.m. it's just like you and the homies again. You know what I mean? Or whoever just wrote it out with you. Yeah. And then it's like, and then it's cool again. You know?
Yeah. No, I feel that. I mean, this is, I don't know. I'm really into just retreating to this almost entirely online thing for like a while. I think I love what you're talking about with just doing a regular tour. Well, I guess I was doing a regular tour with Psalm Zero, right? Like in the middle, you know, right when this thing got, you know, it got cut short by COVID. But I'm kind of thinking like even once venues start opening back up, I think with playing, I'm going to do with what you did, what you're doing, what you said you're going to be doing with Hollow is like not getting back in the game until it's fully open. I think I kind of want to do the same thing. Like even if I can play, you know, even if I could play some gigs, I might actually just hang back and just be internet only guy, you know, for a while longer, just to marinate in this even longer and just, you know, completely.
Yeah, I feel that. I feel that.
But
it's just going to be this like hectic, complicated, fucking vague, difficult.
That's what I'm saying. Dude, dude, I'm not grasping. Dude, no more grasping. There's just no more reaching any further than like this right there. It's funny though, you're talking about 25% capacity though. So that means, but see, then again, the thing is, then maybe I should be playing in bigger places that I normally could only fill up to 25% capacity, but then I'm a better candidate for there now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, Not a bad angle. Not a bad
I mean,
angle.
that's just something that, you know.
There's definitely a land grab to be had somewhere.
Land grab. Oh, yeah. See, it's just, yeah, that's dark. Anyway.
Well, you know, it is what it is, man.
Yeah, man. Well, yeah, I think that's good. You know, I think we could say 2 hours is good. I mean, yeah, I mean, I feel like people keep, you know, people are definitely still tuned in, but I'm not, you know, we're not getting a ton of questions. I'm sorry, Bjorn, I didn't answer. You know, Bjorn asked what kind of dreams are you guys having? Do you know Bjorn Paramore? You know the homie Bjorn?
I don't know if I do.
You might have talked to Bjorn at some point. Anyway, he's just an awesome guy from you know, lives in Florida. Just a big fan of ours, and just an awesome creative artist in on his own stuff as well. Anyway, he'll yeah. Well, yeah, we'll answer some dream questions next time, Bjorn. But thanks for being there. Yeah, man.
Yeah, dude, this was sick. Thank you for having me.
Always, dude. Always. I mean, we'll do. This is what it's like when we just talk on the phone anyway. So we'll just do this. We'll just do this again privately, you know. Like,
yeah, of course. We'll talk, I'm sure we'll talk imminently.
Yeah. Cool, man.
Imminence and becoming. All right.
Yes. Imminentize the eschaton. Tell Laura I said what's up.
Will do, man. Likewise.
Yeah.
I mean, tell Kirsten.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, dude. All right, peace.
All right, peace,
Bye,
man.
everybody. Yep, cheers.
All right, there you have it. Sam Hillmer, the God. The fact that, you know, being friends with someone for 20 years is such a deep thing, man, even aside from the profound collaboration over the years. I'm reminded of something that someone said that I read on Twitter that I thought was really deep. I mean, it might be a little bit simplistic, but they said never trust someone who doesn't have any old friends. That might be a little unfair to say because there might be some good reasons why someone might not have old friends, but I don't know. I mean, you know, the kind of person that like they only have friends from like going back 1 year. So you're like, why did, you know, you're like, dude, why can't you maintain, you know, why do you, you know, just you keep having fallings out with people, you keep getting run out of town, like what do you know? So anyway, it just makes me realizing that I've had a dear friend for like 20 years and then other folks, you know, my friend Chuck Stern, 25, 30 years, at least it makes me feel like I must be not a completely fucked up person. No, I cursed, but you know, for effect, you know, yeah, I'm like, all right, I must have some continuity of humanity if people can put up with me for 20 years, you know, I must not be going totally off the rails, unless we're all going off the rails in exact parallel motion. But that's unlikely. Anyway, yeah, thanks to everyone for watching. I don't know who the next guest is going to be. I've got like several people that are generally on deck, but I don't have the next one confirmed. So we'll see who it's going to be. All right. Night, everyone.